In the vast, untamed waters of the Caribbean, a legend was born, one that would forever change the course of history. A tale of defiance, survival, and a fight against the tide of colonialism. But this is no ordinary hero's journey. This is the story of a man who stood against an empire, long before the world knew his name. This is the story of Hatuey, the first warrior to rise against the Spanish conquerors of the New World. His courage would spark a fire that would burn through centuries of injustice, shaping a nation's identity before it even had one. But how did this man from a distant island come to hold such power in the hearts of millions? And what made him take on the most feared empire in the world, even though the odds were stacked against him? Our story begins in the early 1500s. On the island of La Gonave, in what is now Haiti, Hatuey was a chief of the Taíno people, an indigenous tribe who had lived on these islands for centuries. But his peaceful life was shattered by the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors. Their ships appeared on the horizon like harbingers of doom, bringing with them a thirst for power, wealth, and a brutal conquest of the land. The Spaniards had already decimated entire tribes in Hispaniola. They enslaved the Taínos, tore apart families, and burned villages. Hatuey knew that if they were left unchecked, his people would meet the same fate. Hatuey made a fateful decision. He would leave his home, journey across the treacherous seas, and warn the people of Cuba. He knew that only through unity and resistance could his people hope to survive the coming storm. Upon reaching Cuba, Hatuey sought the leaders of the Taíno people. His message was simple, yet terrifying. The Spaniards were coming, and they would bring destruction. But what Hatuey didn't know was that fear and superstition gripped the hearts of those who had never encountered these foreign invaders. Hatuey's message wasn't met with the urgency it deserved. The Taínos had heard tales of other tribes resisting the Spaniards only to fall to their superior weapons and tactics. The idea of fighting back was frightening, even to those who had the most to lose. But Hatuey would not relent. He began to lead a series of guerrilla raids against the Spanish forces, striking fear into their hearts. His people may have been outnumbered, but they were not without strength. Hatuey was their voice, their symbol of defiance. But the Spaniards were relentless. They brought with them horses, steel, and cannons. They burned villages, slaughtered innocent civilians, and captured anyone who dared stand against them. The people were terrified, not just of the Spaniards, but of the fate that awaited them. Hatuey fought with everything he had, but it was clear that the odds were against him. And soon his resistance would lead him to a final, tragic confrontation. In the end, Hatuey was captured by the Spanish forces. They saw him as the leader who had caused them so much trouble, and they knew he had to be made an example of. Hatuey's defiance would not go unpunished. Before his execution, a priest asked Hatuey if he would accept Jesus and go to heaven. Hatuey thought for a moment and then asked, "Do Spaniards go to heaven too?" When the priest said yes, Hatuey replied, "Then I'd rather go to hell than be with such cruel people." His defiance would cost him dearly, but even as he faced death, he remained a symbol of resistance until the end. As the flames rose, so too did Hatuey's legend. His courage, his resistance, and his fight for freedom would echo across the Caribbean for generations to come. Though Hatuey's life was short, his legacy would live on. He became Cuba's first national hero, a symbol of defiance against colonial oppression. His story inspired countless others to rise up, not just in Cuba, but across Latin America. Hatuey's message was simple: never submit to tyranny. Never lose hope, no matter the odds. And though the forces of empire may be overwhelming, the will of the people can never be extinguished. The fight for freedom, justice, and dignity is eternal, and Hatuey's name will forever be a beacon of that struggle. If you found Hatuey's story inspiring, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more untold stories from history. Thank you for watching.